In breaking news this hour, eNCA has just learned that Albert Fritz has resigned from the Democratic Alliance. Earlier, Western Cape Premier Alan Winde fired the suspended Community Safety MEC. This came after an independent investigation found that there was sufficient credibility to the sexual misconduct allegations. Now, eNCA reporter Aisha Ismail is following these developments for us. She's going to be talking to us shortly. But first, let's listen to Alan Winde when he expressed his sentiments around this matter earlier.
Okay, so the criminal case has to be opened by the complainant. The advocate and our team have said that we'll give the complainants the support. We've also advised them which NGOs are the best to give them that support in going forward, but it is their case to lay. And of course, we will see what happens now in the next day or so. The advocate is of the opinion that there is definitely enough evidence here for them to go ahead and lay criminal charges. Obviously, that's what they must do, so that will be their next step.
That's the Western Cape Premier there, Alan Winde. Joining me now from our studios in Cape Town is my colleague, eNCA reporter Aisha Ismail. Aisha, good afternoon. Well, there is that breaking news now after a few hours following the announcement by Alan Winde that he had fired from his provincial cabinet Mr. Albert Fritz. Now, Mr. Fritz leaving the DA.
Well, Dan, I think that Albert Fritz didn't have any other choice but to leave the Democratic Alliance. And we heard this morning Alan Winde saying that he was shocked and angry by the allegations and levelled against Albert Fritz. And of course now we know that there was this investigation, and according to the investigation there is now sufficient evidence to pave the way for a criminal investigation, because Alan Winde made it very clear this morning that this independent investigation by Advocate Jennifer Williams was not a criminal investigation. And what he's saying now, that there's enough evidence for the South African Police Services to now conduct a criminal investigation. But of course he says that the complainants have not laid any charges against Albert Fritz yet. But we also spoke to opposition parties. I spoke to the ANC as well, to the Good Party. The ANC was saying this morning that Premier Alan Winde should have fired Albert Fritz a long time ago, given that these allegations have been around for a while. They say that the Democratic Alliance as well as the Premier was shielding Albert Fritz up until now. But let's take a listen to what Brett Heron from the Good Party had to say.
I think that Alan Winde could have made this decision 5 weeks ago and removed Albert Fritz from office, because the investigation is not really an investigation that made findings, because there was no due process. And there are a lot of unanswered questions around this whole matter, including how for 11 years this conduct was unnoticed by the DA or the administration, because this is a sex for jobs scandal, which means that there are people in the Western Cape provincial government which would have facilitated the appointment of these women into jobs within the administration. And so the 11 years that MEC Fritz, or former MEC Fritz, was in office is a long period of time for this conduct to go unnoticed. But yes, of course, we welcome the removal of Fritz. But we think that this could have been a decision that was made 5 weeks ago. I mean, going back to the DA's hypocrisy, when the allegations surfaced, the DA had been absolutely silent until today. So Albert Fritz was not being disciplined by the DA. Today they announced, after we've been criticizing them for not taking action as a party and leaving it again to government institutions, today they announced that they're referring the matter to the Federal Legal Counsel. But of course we welcome his removal, but there are lots of unaccounted for or unanswered questions around this issue.
I know, Aisha, you've mentioned what Alan Winde has said earlier about complainants are the ones who will have to lay any criminal charges. Any developments on that side of things at this hour?
I did speak to SAPS here in the Western Cape, and I've been told that right now, they still have not received any charges or complaints from any of the complainants. And that, of course, poses a problem for this criminal investigation, because a third party can't go to SAPS and lay a complaint. And so it's going to be up to those complainants to go to the South African Police Services to go and lay those charges so that a criminal investigation can take place against Albert Fritz.
Yeah, so we're going to have to wait and see what happens. That's a developing story. I know, Asha, you're on top of it. We'll touch base with you if there's any other new development regarding Mr. Albert Fritz. So far, we know that he's now been fired as an MEC in the Western Cape provincial government. And a short while ago, in breaking news this hour, he's now resigned from the DA. Meanwhile, we do not know whether or not any of the complainants in this alleged sexual misconduct case will be laying criminal charges with the police.